Hey everyone, it's Andy Wood from Gamer Circle Comics, and this is episode 8 of the Something Show. That's the name I call this show because I don't really have a name. However, I think I'm getting close. I think I found a couple of names that might mesh together. I said maybe, so don't get too excited, alright? Let me tell you right now, I've had a huge turkey and cheese sandwich, so I'm suffering from a food coma, and I may nod off on you. Not really. I might. Anyways, for those of you who are unaware, this is the show where I talk about comic books, and I talk about gaming. And when I talk about comic books, I will talk to you about some comic book news that you may or may not be aware of. I will share with you the comics that I have read and what I think of them, and I will also tell you about the up-and-coming titles coming out for this week for new comics. And since I'm also a gamer, I will pass along some gaming news that you may or may not know, and I will also tell you about what I'm gaming, what I think, my progress, and I might even show you some stuff. Comic book code, comic book code, comic book code. There is a code floating around here somewhere and a title. So for those of you just tuning in, snag the code. Go to a spot down below to redeem. It's a Marvel code. Sorry that the DC stuff is coming. Anyways, take the code, redeem it, and you get a free comic. Because comic books are cool. Oh yeah, they are. Comic book news is here. Some couple of interesting items. One really cool, and one it's going to go, oh no, really? James Spader has been officially cast to play Ultron in the next Avengers movie. So you have to do an Internet Movie Database on him, because I'll rattle off a bunch of stuff that a lot of people probably won't remember. Last episode, I had reported that Bryan Cranston was being cast as Lex Luthor. Now, I had stipulated, I'm trying to backpedal, sorry, that it wasn't from a major website. It was from quite a few, but it all festered from one website. Comic Book News reported on August 23rd that Bryan Cranston was being cast. And as what they did is they took wording from a Latino website and just kind of reworded it, because Bryan Cranston and someone else are supposedly being considered as Lex Luthor, so they wanted to, get the first word out there. But according to the San Jose Mercury, which is a very reputable website, news site, there's no official casting for the two. So, bummer. Comic book code, comic book code, comic book code. So look around my head. It's usually just on one side, though, because I haven't learned how to make the stuff dance around my head yet. There's a comic book code there. You pause it, grab the code, go redeem, free comic book, yada, yada, yada. So now we come along to the part of the show where I tell you about the comic books I'm reading. And I'm going to start off with Batman 66 number 2, written by Jeff Parker. Like the previous issue, the fun, the action, and the campiness, if that's a real word, has been brought up a notch. Mr. Parker, again, delivered a great issue. Again, like I said, it was fun. In all actuality, that this Batman title is actually going to give the other Batman titles a little bit of run for their money. So, again, I highly recommend you try to snag issue number 1 and number 2, tuck them away. I think they'll be good reads. Another title I read this last week was Ultimate Comics Spider-Man number 26. In this issue, as I read it, I noticed a different sort of momentum from Spider-Man, or Miles. I don't know if it's just because it's been a year that he hasn't been Spider-Man, or he's actually kind of seeing things, but it seems like instead of being reactionary, he's being proactive and trying to take care of a problem before it becomes a problem. Great interaction between him and Spider-Woman. This issue also had a great origin for Bombshell. Great read. Pick it up. Again, I have not been let down by any Ultimate Comics Spider-Man books. I also read Nova number 7, or as it's titled, Superior Nova number 7, because in this issue you get a little bit more Spider-Man, but it's Superior Spider-Man. And this is the first issue, or the first time they actually meet. Nova, who's a very young Sam Alexander, meets Superior Spider-Man for the very first time. So the best analogy is kind of meeting your first idol, and you getting like, a little lightheaded and weak in the knees and stuff like that, and he does that too. but just minus the really cool helmet and flying. So it's a fun book. There's still crime fighting going on. Spider-Man doesn't really take Nova seriously because you find out he's a kid, but Nova proves himself, and it turns out to be a really good read. It was fun, it's one of my favorite things about a comic book, to where they can tell a great story and still make it fun. If it's full of drama, it's not a great read for me. Next on my list was the last issue of Thanos Rising, number 5. You got to see a pretty interesting origin for Thanos, but I think it could have been done in 4 issues. Number 5 had no wow factor for me. It was the only thing, and they just kept hitting on it over and over, was death. And anyone that knows anything about Thanos knows that he's got this weird infatuation with death, and I don't mean in a weird way. You know, he personifies a person or a humanoid as death, but only he can see death, so he ends up talking to death, and it's weird. So I didn't enjoy. The only thing I really liked about Thanos Rising was a little bit more origin that we've actually read in the last 20 years about Thanos. So that was good. But again, I think they could have done what he did in 4 issues versus 5. So if you don't pick it up, I don't think we're really going to miss out on anything. So there was something about his father in there, Thanos' father. So, you know, comic book code, comic book code, comic book code. All right, so get the code, redeem the code, get the comic. It's a free comic. Read the comic. All right, so what comic books are coming out this week? We have X-Men Battle of the Atom, number 1. This is the past, present, and future. X-Men collide in this 50th anniversary event crossover. I think if you're an X-Men fan, you should be reading this book. If you're not an X-Men fan, you're not going to miss anything. And also coming out this week is All New X-Men, number 16, which is Battle of the Atom Part 2. So I just gave you kind of a reading order there. In this one, we have Wolverine. Looks like he's going to take on the future X-Men. And I really want to see what the future X-Men look like. I want to see if Wolverine is still there or not. Young Scott Summers and Jean Grey run away and stay in the present day. So does that mean we get Jean Grey back? You know, do we get the Phoenix coming back again? That would be kind of cool, or not. So if you remember last episode, I told you September was going to be all about the bad guys for DC Comics. And there's quite a few of those issues coming out this week, but Batman 23.1 is all about the Joker, and he has always been the face of evil in DC Universe. But what led him on his current devious path of treachery might be revealed in this issue, so pick it up. Also, this is actually pretty cool. The Star Wars number 1. Now, that may not really hit anything, but this comic is actually the authorized adaptation of George Lucas's rough draft of his very own screenplay of Star Wars. In this title, before it was a motion picture, you get to see Anakin Starkiller as a hero, Luke Skywalker is a wise-eyed Jedi general, and Han Solo is a big green alien. It's going to be a hot comic. And that's it. That's all the new stuff coming this week. Comic book code, comic book code, comic book code, comic book code. Get the code, redeem the code, get the comic, read the comic. Alright, so for gaming news in this particular episode, I don't have anything because right now PAX is happening. So anything I report is probably going to be old and stale. But instead, I wanted to show you a YouTube clip of an MMO called Black Desert from a company called Pearl Abyss. So check it out. So now that you saw that, has anyone seen this or heard of it? I'm just kind of curious because I'm slightly piqued because they are promising a lot of stuff, and parts of what they're promising I have seen in other games. They're promising like 400 versus 400 on sieges, which sounds a little fun to me, to be honest with you, because I've never really been in something that could be kind of so strategic. So I'm looking forward to that. You can actually build uninstanced dwellings, which means, you know, you could build something and get a key and give it to a friend and you can hang out together or not or whatever. Anyways, they promise a lot of stuff. They promise resource management, and you can build stuff like buildings and stuff like that. So I want to see if they can actually deliver, and see if it could be a nice, persistent, open environment, like they're stipulating. So again, no news. I just want to ask everyone about that game. So what have I been playing? I finally finished, it took me a couple weeks, but I finished the XCOM Declassified Bureau. And, you know, I did a bunch of Let's Plays and how I was playing it. The game, for me, had some merit. I'm a fan of the XCOM series. I'm a fan of squad-based games, and I'm a fan of kind of like tactical shooters. What I'm not a fan of is taking the spacebar and remapping it. The spacebar in every single first-person shooter has always been the jump key, and they took that away. So each time I hit the spacebar, I wasn't jumping. I was going into command mode. So the bottom line is, So wait for like a Steam or some sort of bargain barn sale before you get it. It's playable. It's got some really nice stuff, but it's not, you know, worth $50. Sorry. And I've also been playing Duels of Planewalker 2014. So even though I said last time I beat the game and I was trying to unlock the white deck, which I did, I want to unlock the black deck, which I'm really close. And I've also been working on the mono green deck because they got some interesting stuff in there. All right, guys, that is the show for this week. And as always, I really appreciate the feedback. I'm very humbled by what you people have been saying about my performance, what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. And don't forget, next Wednesday is what? That's right, New Comic Book Day. See y'all later. Thanks a lot.